Hey everybody, in this episode we are going over the 7 key ideas from Unlearn by Humble the Poet. Humble was a guest on my podcast and we had a great episode, a great conversation, and now I want to go over some of the big ideas from his book. Key idea number 1 is that circumstantial happiness is an addiction. When Humble was writing the book, Unlearn, he started to analyze his emotions. He started to notice he was getting these emotions that were kind of difficult, and he wondered, why do I feel this? Where does this come from? And he found that a lot of it was from projecting out into the future or looking back on the past and then comparing things against the expectations he had for his future and where things were going, feeling anxious about whether or not he was going to achieve those things. Getting caught up in this kind of measured sense of what could make me happy if I get this thing, if I achieve that X, that's going to be something that you become dependent on. Then you must hit that to feel happy. That dependence for something so basic as your happiness will eventually become more than dependence. It will become an addiction. Key idea number 2 is to be like 50 Cent. 50 is a huge influence on Humble. 2 chapters in Humble's book, Unlearn, are devoted to 50 Cent. And I've got 50's book behind me, The 50th Law, a great read if you haven't checked it out. The thing that 50 emphasizes right from the beginning of his own book is realism, and that's what Humble was also attracted to. 50 has been shot 9 times. That means he's seen it all. He knows what it's like to be afraid and what's worth being afraid of, and he knows what's not. And he finds that most everything is not worth being afraid of. So he lives a virtually fearless life now. A relationship with reality like that is so liberating, and it's so important in whatever you do. Something that I used to do is I used to teach pilots about visual illusions that they would experience when they were flying back when I was in the Navy, and they would get exposed to these illusions in different ways that we could simulate them, or different ways that we could have exercises where we could have a simple 2-dimensional visual that could represent it. And as they became more exposed to these illusions and seeing where that was and how that checked out against reality or what their instruments showed, that gave them a strength that made them more confident and more capable to face those illusions and face the situations that might bring on those illusions in the future. You may not be a fighter pilot or 50 Cent, but you can benefit from realism too. So learn to get comfortable with what's actually going on around you. At first, it seems gritty and hard to deal with, but a great thing you can do is to actually confront your reality. To go out and face something uncomfortable head on will liberate you. That will put you in touch with the reality of things. It will put you in touch with how hard some things can be. And then you'll also realize it's not that bad. You've survived it. You've done it. Just like 50 getting shot 9 times and surviving, you will be a little bit tougher and a little bit more fearless because you faced reality. Key idea number 3 is that self-pity is self-sabotage. And Humble explains that it's really natural to feel some self-pity and to even get hooked on the sensation of feeling bad for yourself. We want to have a good relationship with ourselves. Humble says the most important relationship you can have is the relationship with yourself. The thing is that self-pity isn't actually nourishing that relationship with yourself. It just feels like it. It's more like a potato chip than a fruit. So you want to give yourself something that's actually going to bring value to you. It's hard though. I had an experience like this a few years ago. I was dealing with a contract and I thought that I had met my end of the contract. I thought that was very clear. But I was up against a very strong, very influential legal team that believed that I had not met my end of the contract, and they wanted to keep me in that contract for 3 more years. I was overwhelmed, and I began to feel so bad for myself, to feel like I'm the only person who this could happen to feel like people were ganging up on me. It nearly ruined me, the self-pity that I felt. It's like drinking too much. At first, it feels good, but by the time you get a little too far in, you've ended up actually way too far, and you feel terrible the next day. What will serve you better, and this is another great tip from 50 Cent, is to get some self-reliance, to think about what can I do to take action to move me forward in this situation? How can I help myself rather than feeling bad for myself? When you start taking action rather than feeling bad and feeling self-pity, progress will happen and things will get better. Key idea number 4 is to take responsibility for your own happiness. Everybody says that they want to be happy, but are you actually doing things that will make you happy? In the book, Humble quotes Robin Sharma, who says, "Don't tell me your priorities, just tell me your schedule." Because what we do, how we spend our time, that really shows what matters to us. So if you're feeling down, assume responsibility for your happiness, adjust your schedule, and act accordingly. If you don't, you have no one to blame but yourself. Key idea number 5 is probably my favorite, and that's that forgiveness is a decision to not let things hold you down anymore. Humble and I could have discussed this one for an extra hour after the podcast, and we did talk a little bit after. And it's so weird that forgiveness is so valuable and yet so hard and so counter to our human nature to hold on to things and to be protective. I had another guest on the podcast a couple weeks ago, Jack Carr. He's a Navy SEAL, and he wrote a book that was all about revenge, and it was a riveting story. There's something about revenge that you just want to follow along with. You're rooting for the person who's seeking vengeance. It's very natural. Forgiveness seems so unnatural, but it's so much more helpful. As Humble said right at the start of our interview, hate doesn't hurt the one you think it does. So you gotta forgive. You gotta let go. Don't do it for the other person. Do it for yourself, and you'll actually set yourself free and get a lot off your back. Key idea number 6 is that your comfort zone is really a worldview, and it's not helping you. Humble prides himself on being an honest person, but he said that he, for a long time, wasn't really honest with the way that he looked at things. Even though he might speak truth, he wouldn't see things with clear eyes, and so he would deceive himself. He said, this is a quote, "Comforting lies are those fluffy pillows, while harsh realities are those cold showers." You gotta ditch the rose-colored glasses and get back to what's real, and that's going to be uncomfortable. That's going to take big leaps out of your comfort zone to make it happen, but it will change your worldview and give you a totally new sense of how to deal with things. Key idea number 7 is to enjoy an ambitious hunger. Humble's not looking to be happy all the time. And would that even be possible? So much of how we experience things is really by comparison. We know greater highs of happiness because we know the depths of sadness. That's how human beings sense what's going on in the world. So the game changer with this one is instead of always pursuing happiness and trying to get your next high, instead learn to find happiness in that pursuit. These are my 7 key ideas from Unlearn by Humble the Poet, 101 Simple Truths for a Better Life. If you want more videos like this, then be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.